Your West Tigers just got exclusive news about Jahream Bula from an NRL journalist, Isaac Issa. Today we're breaking that all down, plus the sign-in of young gun Luai. We're talking Jarome Luai's younger brother. We officially entered our Luai era, but make sure you do stick around to towards the end of the video where our guest today does give some insight into when Jahream Bula is actually sitting down with the Tigers and his honest thoughts and opinions on whether or not he is going to sign with us. It's a good one. So make sure you smash that like and subscribe button. It really does help me in the YouTube algorithm out a ton. And drop your thoughts below. Do you think Jahream Bula is staying? And if not, what are your thoughts on Jakarta taking his spot?
Hey mate, what's going on? I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's been too long. It has been way too long.
5 or 6 months. I'm glad you got me back on, man.
Absolutely, dude. You've grown so much too on social media. I just checked your page today. 12.1K. I think you're only at like 4 or 5K last time we chatted.
Yeah, it would have been something, maybe even a little bit less, to be honest,
Yeah.
at that time. If we're talking about 5 or 6 months ago, probably from maybe 2,000. So it's been a big jump
Crazy.
this year. But it's been, I've been very blessed, and we're building a really cool community over there, which is really cool. But look, who doesn't want to get kind of stuck into all the NRL news? So
Absolutely.
I'm lucky to do what I do, and it gives me opportunities like this, which I'm always grateful for.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for jumping on. And NRL Deep Dive fans, as you know, Isaac is a long-term supporter of the channel, an absolute diehard NRL fan who lives and breathes all things NRL news. And so, where can people find you right off the bat if you want to give yourself a plug, your social media channels, all of that, and what you do?
Absolutely. So, for those of you who weren't around a few months ago when I kind of hopped on, I am an NRL journalist. I do a lot of my work over at Zero Tackle, and a lot of my work I do on social media, mainly on Instagram. So you can find me at Isaac Issa _journalist. If you're not on Instagram, I'm also on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, or X. But the main chunk of my work is on Instagram. So if you want to keep up to date with all the latest in rugby league, just head over there. But as I said, I do a lot of work with Zero Tackle as well. So kind of all over the place at the moment. But Instagram's kind of the central hub at the moment.
Beauty. Well, make sure you guys jump over, give him a follow, like whatever it is on whichever platform. He's always putting out stuff. We're collabing on stuff. So if you can't find him through the search, you can find him on my page. So big video today, Isaac, man. I've got a ton I want to break down with you because you have been the forefront of a lot of the news that we've received. And so we're going to be talking sign-ins. We're going to be talking draw. And then the big thing right now is, was it R360 or whatever it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit about that. So for anyone who doesn't know, make sure you stick around and we'll get some hot goss on that. But right off the bat, man, how are you feeling overall? It doesn't have to be about West Tigers, but just the overall draw for 2026. We're using AI for the first time in NRL history and sports history, really. What are your thoughts? Obviously, we're a little salty. We got the round one bye again. That's a whole topic of discussion. But yeah, give me your overall thoughts, things we should look forward to, things that maybe aren't so great, and just all that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, I must say, in the build-up to kind of the draw coming out, and I know there were a ton of leaks and stuff before the NRL officially dropped the draw. I believe it was last Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I was super stoked about the whole AI thing. It would be, less room for bias, less room for controversy. But I guess you can't really have anything NRL related without having some controversy, and that's exactly what has happened here. So, look, I guess the glaring issue, and obviously we're having a Tigers chat, so let's get straight into it. That the round one bye, I believe it's your club's second first
In
round bye
three
in
years.
3 years.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so which is absolutely ridiculous, especially for one of the biggest Sydney clubs as well, bigger clubs in the NRL. And I think that many are kind of seeing that the Tigers are somewhat of a sleeping giant, similar to the Dogs a couple of years ago, even the Knights a couple of years ago. A lot of these, lesser performing clubs, once you do give them the opportunity, they come out in numbers. And I think the Tigers are definitely one of those clubs. Unfortunately, they're not going to get the opportunity to showcase that in round one, which I think is a bit of a shame, especially because we've obviously got, 16 other clubs who haven't been getting their buys, their round one buys over the last couple of years. So that's a real shame. And I think that there's an easy solution to that. Just give each team their buy in the round one and then give it to another team the next year. It's really not that hard. But nevertheless, that's what we've got here. We've also got the Raiders missing out on Magic Round, which really sucks as well. That's another one that I was quite disappointed to see. Look, all in all, the draw doesn't bother me too much. A lot of the double up matches that we got throughout the year are somewhat of blockbuster matches. I believe the Dogs are versing the Tigers twice. You've got Storm versing Brisbane twice, I believe. There are a few double ups that are quite exciting, and we're going to get to see some really good matchups, especially spread out throughout the whole season. It's not top heavy or back heavy, which is really cool. But yeah, look, a few glaring issues and a couple of those buys I'm not too big a fan of, to be honest.
For sure. And yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, Isaac's a mad Doggies fan. And so we gave him our problem. That is Lockie Galvin, and he can deal with that. But I'm a pumped for our two matchups, man. So honestly, like from a Doggy supporter perspective, how do you feel like you guys are going to do this year? What are some of your strengths, maybe some of your areas for growth? What should we as a club be preparing for when we come up against you guys?
Yeah, I want to say off the bat, and I don't get too many opportunities to speak with my doggies hat on, so I always appreciate the opportunity to do so. But I will say off the bat that I was so happy when the Dogs season ended this year, because far out they frustrated me. When we lost to Panthers in that final, I actually celebrated, because I was like, thank God I can just watch now. Heading into next year, I must say my excitement hasn't fully returned yet. I'm still a little bit bitter, but there are some really good matchups, and I think, especially off the back of Tigers versus Dogs this year, sorry, I think we're going to have some really good matchups next year. The Dogs, I think, we've got the most obvious kind of boost to our side, which is Leo Thompson coming in from the Newcastle Knights, which is very exciting. I'm not sure if you got the chance to see some of the social media stuff on him, but he looks absolutely frightening.
It's crazy.
Which is, yeah, like I am like so glad he's on our side, and he looks motivated and ready to go. Lockie Galvin, the glaring topic here, elephant in the room. He's come back and he's been an absolute freak in training. From what I've heard, I believe he finished first in the club's yo-yo test, which is a extremely difficult fitness test that
Yeah, you got like 4 minutes, 20 seconds or 21 seconds, something. History, crazy.
Ridiculous. And he finished first in the club, and he finished first, and Mitchell Woods, who is expected to be the halfback at some point this year, finished second. So potential halves pairing by the time that we match up against the Tigers, I guess we'll see. But you can tell that that Lockie Galvin's got a chip on his shoulder, especially after last year. He's been doing a lot of work with Roger Fabry as well, which he works a lot in fitness and speed and running style and stuff. So look, if I'm going to be honest, while I would have hoped as a Doggies fan, and honestly as a fan of the sport, that the spotlight would have moved away from Lockie Galvin into heading into 2026, I'd say that he's probably one to watch over the next few months, starting into the season and stuff.
Absolutely. And I mean, all the drama that went on put a bad taste in my mouth. Lockie Galvin, honestly, is one of the best players, like young guns, that I've seen come through in a long time. And I think his ceiling is like just limitless. I really do think if he puts in the hard work and the reps that he's already doing, I think we're going to see a Hall of Famer half, like regardless of what anyone thinks of him. And that's just fact. And so I truly do respect him as a player. Just hate the way that he had to exit the club, and I'm going to leave it at that. But you guys got a Newcastle Knights player. So do we. We got Kai Pearce-Paul, man. And so he was probably our biggest, other than Taylor May last year, one of our biggest signings going into 2026. We've got Bunty Afoa, Ethan Roberts, Jack Attar, Javon Andrews, Jock Maverick, Patrick, all of the people. Kind of break it down for me. Who are we looking at from a West Tigers perspective that we should be really excited for amongst our signings? And what do you think they're going to bring to our squad that we don't have or will be better at?
Yeah, absolutely. And you named the first one right there, Kai Pearce-Paul, which is one to be really excited about. And for Tigers fans, to have a guy like that who's coming in absolutely motivated. I've had a couple conversations with him, and he does seem like he is a real down-to-earth guy, and I think he's going to blend really well with the Tigers group and Tigers outfit. And I think that he's coming in similar to Leo Thompson to the Dogs. Like he's coming in off a wooden spoon and keen to just see some success. And that's not something that you can replicate if you haven't been through it. You know, he's just come off a wooden spoon. Tigers fans know what that's like over the last few years. It's exciting for the Tigers to have a player who's coming to the club looking for an upward trajectory, because I feel like that hasn't been the case for many years. So it's very exciting. I think Kai Pearce-Port is your number one. You mentioned another guy there, Javon Andrews, is someone I'm very excited about as well. Obviously, he has starred, I believe in Queensland Cup, State of Origin as well. And he has been very, very exciting. Yeah, you've got quite a few really exciting prospects. Ethan Roberts as well is one I've heard some real good raps about. I believe he's coming from the Sydney Roosters.
Yep.
He's really exciting one as well. I've got to say, though, Kai Pearce-Port is at the top of my list, and I think he's got the opportunity to be top 5 back rower next year if he really, digs in.
Absolutely. And so with that, we also signed a guy, Bunty Afoa from New Zealand.
Yep.
He is not an 18-year-old, fresh season, all of that, but we've signed him on a development deal. Why do you think we did that? Why do you think Richo, Benji went for that, where we could have just thrown him a 3-4 year deal, just a normal NRL? Why do you think we went developmental to someone who, back then Bunty, he knows how to play footy and he does it well?
Unfortunately, I find in the NRL that once one club kind of steers away from a player, especially a player that's been at one club for a while, teams do tend to get a little bit somewhat scared off from that player. Now, Bunty Afoa is a terrific player. I believe he's 29 years old. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he is. So he's not old by any stretch, but he's definitely not young. He was kind of tossing up offers to go over to the Super League. There weren't too many offers for him. So I think for Richo to go a little bit of the safer route and have that option, I think that it was somewhat of a no-brainer for him in the club. But honestly, Bunty Afoa is, there's a lot of jokes around Afoa, and obviously he's a cult hero over the Warriors, but he is a freak. He's fit as he is. He's a machine when he's on. He just needs to be on more of the time, really. So I think the club has also been burnt by, obviously you brought in Jack Bird last year or the year before, who again was somewhat unwanted and a bit of a veteran as well, and obviously hasn't panned out the way that you guys probably would have hoped. And it has kind of come, tenfold over the last few years, really, with signing these veteran guys who obviously aren't, you got David Clemmer a couple of years ago as well. There are a few of these big boys who the club has signed and hasn't really panned out. So I think they're going the safer route here, but I think that's just going to put a chip on Afoa's shoulder, and I expect a big preseason out of him and hopefully a longer-term deal after his development contract.
Absolutely, man. And if we can get him on this development deal, he shows us really that he still has it, and then we extend him going into 2027. We've set ourselves up for major success. And speaking of, getting people on deals and signing people, what the heck is going on with Jahream Bula, man? We all have talked about Luai. I believe Luai 100% will commit to us and will re-sign with us and lock in all of that. But Jahream Bula, man, there has been nothing, not even whispers, other than some dude on Instagram saying that, hey, he's committing, but nothing's come from it. Have you heard anything? Do you know anything? What's your honest personal opinion? Where do you see him going, especially since we just signed Jack Attard as well?
Yeah, so I've been somewhat cautious with this story because I know that the Tigers are meeting with him this week. So the Tigers are planning to meet with Jahream Bula this week, and they are confident that he is going to stay. Now, in saying that, I have been told by sources close to the situation that if he doesn't re-sign with the Tigers, there is another Sydney club that he will be keen on heading off to. It's really a matter of if both sides can come to an agreement. Now, obviously, the elephant in the room is the fact that his manager is Isaac Moses, who has somewhat of a strained relationship with the Tigers now following the departure of Lachlan Galvin. I believe Talon De Silva as well. You correct me if I'm wrong. But the relationship there is somewhat strained between Moses and the Tigers. Now, from what I know, the reason that they are renegotiating this whole deal is because Moses wasn't a part of Jahream Bula's original negotiations, and so he doesn't get a cut of that deal. So he's renegotiating so he can get a cut of the next deal, which is absolutely ruthless from Moses, considering the amount of money that Bula is on. But like you somewhat got to step back and just respect how relentless he is. He's a real shark, and he wants to get as much money for himself, and he wants to get as much money for his client as well. And if anyone who's been watching the NRL media space over the last few years, he tends to get the deals that he wants. So in saying that, I don't believe Jahream Bula is as confident in remaining at the Tigers as I believe the Tigers are that he will stay. Now, if both parties can come to an agreement, I believe he will. But they have signed that young fullback in preparation of him leaving, and it will be a rival Sydney club he heads off to if they don't come to that deal.
Yeah, man, that was my worry. That signing the Jacketard, which I mean, would great depth player regardless, but that was my first thought was, oh crap, is this about to happen? Like we're signing fullbacks, we've got a great fullback, so I appreciate the insight, man. And I'm gonna be fingers crossed, toes crossed, everything crossed, making sure that he stays. But if he doesn't, Jacketard is the man that we shall see in the number one. And so yeah, with that, man, like. Jarome Luai's contract as well is still up in talks, and he's got the get out clauses. Do you think there's a world where we see him leaving, or do you think he is a man of his word, which I truly do believe, and he is going to stay it out? He's just not in a hurry. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would be very, very surprised to see Jarome Luai go anywhere. He has come out and said he has no interest in speaking to rival clubs. We also need to remember that, like, he's obviously got these get out clauses in his contract, which I guess is a bit of a slap in the face if you're a Tigers fan. But we need to remember that the Tigers have not been a stable run club for a while. Now they're now starting to pick up the pieces over the last couple of years. And when he negotiated that deal, the club wasn't as secure as it is now, and not as secure as it will be in 12 months. So these are, I believe, the get out clause was purely a precaution if the Tigers, for whatever reason, just falls off an absolute cliff, which they do not look like they are about to. They look united, they look cohesive, they look excited about what's coming. I don't know how many times Jarome Luai needs to come out and say in the media, "I'm not going anywhere," before people stop pestering him about it, because really, he does look quite committed to the club now. I think that the noise will quieten down once he does remove those clauses. But again, from a business perspective, I don't know if he should. But look, if I'm a Tigers fan, I'd be much more worried about Jahream Bula than I would be about Jarome Luai. I believe I popped out this morning, and Zero Tackle popped out the report yesterday that his younger brother, Calvary Luai, has also signed with the Tigers as well. By the way, super cool name. Signed with the Tigers
right?
as well. That's great. Someone commented, Calvary's here, and I was like, bloody oath it is. He's now come to the club. He has signed with their SG Ball side. So, look, I believe the Luais are here to stay. And if I'm a Tigers fan, I'm much more worried about Bula than I am about Luai.
Absolutely. And that was my next question or, comment was, hey, bro, like we've officially entered our Luai era. What's better than one Luai? It's two. We got Calvary, this young gun that is defensively just on point, being compared to people like Brian Toa. And then there's got, his attacking ability in that center position. Like he's going to be one of the guys that we see come up through the Tigers system and genuinely, I think, become, one of the greats within our club. And so where do you see his trajectory going now playing SG board? Do you think this is a long-term move for us? Do you think this is just us getting him into the NRL scene to then get offers somewhere else? Or do you think this is more of a, hey, we have this kid, he is our future star? Where do you think we land on that?
Yeah, look, I think at this rate, it's probably too soon to tell. I think that, like, if you look at the likes of Jet Cleary when he was at the Panthers, many were pegging him to be partnering Nathan Cleary in the halves for years to come. Now, while I think that would be super exciting for the Tigers to obviously have Calvary there long term, and there's definitely a world where that happens. I think there's every possibility that the Tigers are doing the Luai family a great service of putting this kid on the map. And then potentially getting him offers elsewhere. But regardless, I think the positive out of this is one, keeping the Luais happy. You're obviously welcoming, one of their younger players into the side, which is super exciting for the club and for the family, keeping that connection strong. And obviously then giving Jarome Luai a little bit more of a reason to stay as well. And then I think moving forward, I think they're giving him a major opportunity to shine on a bigger stage with a little bit more media attention as well, which then can either get him a bigger long-term deal elsewhere, or they could potentially start integrating him into this Tigers outfit over the next few years.
Yeah, I think that's honestly the best way to put it, honestly, man. And finally, talking about another young gun, Hermasi Makasini. He's probably been my biggest thought of going into 2026 season, just having an epic debut last year with us, having insane season in New South Wales Cup, and being a schoolboy and playing the way that he's already playing. Like, oh my goodness, like that's just talent. That's just pure gift when it comes to footy. Where do you see him ending up for us? Do you think he's going to be in our top 30? My hot take is he's going to have an incredible offseason to the point where he is starting over Stafford Toa. I think Stafford Toa is a lot more injury prone. Don't get me wrong, I love the way he plays, but there's been moments last season where I'm like, dude, like, you shouldn't be doing that. So what do you think? Do you think I'm on the right track? Do you think we could see something else from him? Where do you see his future with the West Tigers?
Look, I think regardless over the next couple of years, you will see Makasini end up in this starting lineup for permanently. Now, if I've got him starting over Stafford Toa straight away, I probably am not as confident that he will. Not because obviously the talent is there and everything, but I think that he's obviously just coming off finishing year 12. I don't know how much of an interrupted off season this is going to be for him. Obviously you finish year 12, you're celebrating with your friends, and you're preparing for the future, and you've probably got a million things going through your head at once. I believe it was on the May Day podcast where he said he literally debuted on Saturday or Sunday and then went to school on Monday.
Yeah.
Absolutely wild. So I can't imagine how much he's kind of got on his plate at the moment, heading into 2026. Now, if he locks in, I think there's every chance that we do see him lock down a starting spot in the first 3 rounds, or first 4 rounds, considering the bye. Stafford Toa has been somewhat of an anomaly in this side. I don't believe he is as locked into the Tigers' future as I think many fans would have hoped. I don't even believe he's re-signed beyond 2026. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe he is. And so, look, I think Makasini is a future at this club. His favorite player is Stephen Crichton, has him as his background on his phone, which is an absolute, like, if you're a Tigers fan, that's the player you want him modeling his game after. So, in saying all of that, he's got a ton of, star players around him in, the Mays and the Luais and the Crichtons. You've got all these players who have kind of taken him under their wing, in a sense. And I think that's going to be a huge boost for him. If not in 2026, definitely in 2027, he will be an out-and-out star by 2027.
Love that, man. And so, Tigers fans, with that, where do you see Makasini ending up for us? Do you think we're going to see him playing next year, or do you think he's going to be going and looking at his future for uni, for other things like that? But either way, Isaac, thanks for jumping on, brother. I'll be sure to reach back out, and we'll just set more of these up as we get closer to the season and then through the season. But keep up the great work. Make sure you guys head over to Isaac Issa Journalist, right?
Yeah, Isaac Issa _journalist. Yep.
Isaac Issa _journalist.